Welcome, everyone, and Merry Christmas. This is today, December the 28th, the Feast of the Holy Innocents, and I'm joined today by Father Karl Stehlin, who's joining us from Europe. Welcome, Father.
Welcome, Mr. Brian McCall, and
Yeah,
welcome all. Merry Christmas to all over
yeah.
there.
Thank you. I hope you had a good Christmas.
Yes, we had a very nice Christmas. We had
Yes.
1,500 people in the mass, in 5 masses, and
Huh.
uh, and the priests who were confessing before all around the time, if not in the nights. So I think
Wow.
we had a little bit work to do, so we are all now tired.
Yes. Well, we thank you for taking time to join us then at this
Yeah.
busy time of year. Why don't you? So, Father is the district superior for the Society of St. Pius X in Poland. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about how long you've been a priest, and a little bit about your district, if you could, Father.
So I have been a priest since more than 33 years now. I've been ordained by Archbishop Lefebvre himself on the 29th of June 1988, the day before the consecration of the bishops. And I have been studying in the seminary of the SSPX in Germany. As a deacon, I was already sent to Gabon. So my first assignment was a missionary in the African jungle. And I have been there until 1994, so exactly 8 years, 3 months, and 23 days. Afterwards,
Wow.
the General Superior he appointed me to become the first superior of Poland and the Eastern Europe countries, where we started from scratch. There was absolutely nothing, so it was really wonderful that we had such a beginning in these countries, especially dedicated to Our Lady. After a very hard beginning in 1994, we were only 2 priests, and now have been working there during 20 years. And after 20 years, in 2014, the superiors have already, I think, almost forgotten about me after so many years. So I have been appointed the district superior from Asia, and I have been there for 4 years. And I was supposed to stay there for a long time. And when came the general chapter of the Society of St. Pius X 3.5 years ago, they decided to put me back to Poland. And Poland
Uh-huh.
has been autonomous house until last August. In August,
Mm.
Poland and the Eastern Europe countries has been erected as a district. So I am again district superior now for this apostolate. I was so happy to start from the very beginning. And I say I'm a German, and I have not lost my German. I speak a little bit English, a little bit French from Gabon, and of course I speak a lot of Polish because this is
Yes.
a language we need. And so I was witness of the marvelous, very marvelous work of Our Lady, because we cannot say it another way. Our Lady did such an incredible work in these Eastern Europe countries that even now we are all astonished about, and we can only thank for
Wow.
this, especially the last, let me say, 4 or 5 years. That's it, a little bit the thing
Wow.
about myself. Oh, I
So,
forgot. I
in
forgot
it.
one
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
Sorry, I forgot
Yes.
something.
Go ahead.
In the year 2000, I'm very sorry. In the year 2000, because of many Polish people wanted to continue the treasure of Maximilian Kolbe's Knights of the Immaculata, Militia Immaculata, the General
Mm.
Superior allowed that the Militia Immaculata would continue in the traditional observance. In 2000, I was
Ah.
founding that in Poland, and now I had become the director of this thing with than 125,000 knights all over the world in 62 countries. So this is a little bit my secondary job.
Wow. Well, you mentioned Eastern Europe. So, in addition to Poland, what other countries in Eastern Europe do you send priests to?
Yeah, we are working in Poland, and we are working
Uh-huh.
also in Ukraine. In Ukraine,
Mm.
we have founded. General Superior has founded an extra society of Saint Josaphat with the Byzantine priests, and then we are working in Belarus, in the Baltic countries, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, and of course in Russia. And we have one priory outside Poland in Lithuania with 5 priests there who are deserving all these countries except Ukraine, where I go myself because this is a special apostolate. It's apostolate only with the priests there.
Wow. Well, that obviously speaks of a lot of growth of tradition there, and you mentioned you attribute that to Our Lady. We in the United States were familiar with a letter that was issued to the provincial of the Dominicans and copied to you. And I maybe you can actually tell me how to pronounce the priest's name, because I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce his name.
His name is Father Wojciech Goławski. Wojciech
Goławski.
Goławski, Dominican priest, yes. Who
Yes,
joined us
yes.
lastly. The story was very simple. Father Goławski, he was a typical indult priest, a priest who was working with the Ecclesia Dei movement and so on. And he was a convinced Dominican. And I know him quite a long time because he has worked in Estonia when we had a lot of troubles with not with one another, because he was traditional, but he couldn't accept what we are doing, and so we had friendly issues. So he was always a very friendly enemy. And the friendly enemy, he come closer to us since the things got worse, of course, in Rome. And it was on the 16th of July in the afternoon, I get a telephone call when he said to me, because this is important to know, when he said to me, imagine, Father, first of all, I go on my knees, I apologize for all the bad things I have told about you. The second thing, he said, I have at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock was issued the motu proprio, Traditiones Custodes. We name it Traditiones Persecutores here, and the way. And so, and then imagine at 9 o'clock it was issued officially, released, and at 10 o'clock the provincial, the superior came to him, knocked at his door, and so now it's finished with your old mass. Father Wojciech had celebrated since years only the traditional mass. He was assigned in a retreat house, so he had that opportunity. Right. And so privately, of course, and also publicly from time to time. So he celebrated, of course. And then he said to me, now you have the document. You are not allowed anymore. Now you must say the new mass. It's finished. And Father Wojciech said, I can't. Wow. So, and then the other said, then go. Well, Father Wojciech said, okay, I go. And then he called me, he explained me the thing. I was very touched about his humility, Then he said it opened my eyes. The thing fell from my eyes, and I saw the whole thing in that moment. I said, Father Wojciech, you are welcome. Welcome. And so he came, and he's one of those who joined us. And of course, I ask from each priest who comes to join us the last. Since let me say the last 2 years, that of course they go out of their original obedience. They of course they leave their assignment, and normally it is not allowed. You cannot just leave and without any change on any decisions. So I asked from each of them to write apology or a letter of justification, and this letter must be of the highest theological level, where they explain each one on himself why they are obliged to leave their structures, their structures and the parish or the order where they have been assigned, because they want to keep the Catholic faith. They want to keep the traditional mass, and especially they want to save their soul, and they don't want to destroy the salvation of the other souls. These are the main arguments they have all to bring. Now imagine we have now since September 2019 have joined us not less than 13 priests.
Wow, not less than 13.
Yeah.
Where are you putting them all? Do you have room for all these priests?
Well, that's a good question.
Yes.
We are full, absolutely full. That is like we are just looking around how we make it to get them in. So yes. It's really a funny thing. We have really our houses are absolutely packed. So if I want to visit one of my priories, I have to host in a hotel or with faithful. There's no place anymore. There's even no bed anymore, except Warsaw. The Warsaw Priory is gigantic. Well, it's huge for Polish, let me say, for Polish understanding. In America, it would be a little priory concerning the place, but here is a lot of place. So there is a room free, a bed free, and the priest is welcome. So I'm counting now at this moment, we have in the whole district 4 beds free. 4.
Wow.
And these 4 beds, 1 bed I must keep when the superior will come or the bishop will come in February and March, though he cannot go in. So I have 3 beds left. So now these 3 beds, one will be, oh no, four beds left, you know, 1 in the northern priory in Gdańsk, and 3 here in Warsaw.
Wow.
So now the 4th.
So, sorry. No, go ahead, Father.
The last bed will be occupied. The 4th bed, it will be occupied tomorrow by a priest who joins us tomorrow, Father Kamil. And now we have 3 left until we will be able for in August to open. I've already got the permission, open a new priory and open the school. They have a big school, St. Thomas Aquinas Academy, with 283 children.
Wow.
And in this place, we have made a new building, and there is a place for the priests who will work for the school. And this will be ready for August, and then we'll have then already again 6 places free for the next, if God's will. So we count.
So is the Dominican priest, and if there's others, are they preserving the Dominican rite, or have they moved over to saying just the Roman rite?
Yeah, this is a secondary question, of course.
Yes.
Normally, because in the SSPX, it is there's an order. If somebody joins the SSPX, you know, he's not anymore in the structure of let me say the Dominican order or the Franciscan or whatever, or the Capuchin order. And so there is a law in the SSPX that if you celebrate public masses as a member or associated priest, you must celebrate the Roman rite. With exceptions, of course, there can be exceptions, but normally the people wouldn't know, you know, here. And so, but privately he can celebrate his own rite. But Father had not so much the opportunity when he came and joined, because he had nobody to serve him, and all the people who came to join, they were all Roman rites. So in fact, Father Wojciech was celebrating most of the time the Roman rite.
So these other third.
Yes.
No, go ahead, Father.
The other priests who are from the orders, they are all Roman rite. There are 2 Franciscans, Franciscan priests. Now, lastly, we have a Redemptorist. Is a father. We call him the Redemptorist, you know. So, and Redemptorist priest, and we have a Palatine priest who joined us. And what do we have yet? I'm getting lost with all these priests, you know, but it's okay. They are all trained for the Roman rite, so that is not a problem. The other question is, of course, whether these priests will conserve their identity. This priest, if here we are following the advices of Archbishop Lefebvre, an associated priest who wants to survive in this terrible disaster of the church. He is free to join us, to become member of the Society of the 10th, or to become associated priest, and then he can keep, let me say, his monastic identity. You know, this is possible. You know, so we discuss about this.
So what is, of these other 13 priests, what has brought them to come find the society? Is it just Traditionis Custodes, or are there other reasons beyond?
No, most of these priests joined us before.
Okay.
Yes. So the general way to join us this war, it is absolutely sure that it is the situation in the church.
Mm.
which is the deterioration of the papacy. Pachamama, all the issues, all these documents from Rome, official documents concerning the Amazonas thing, concerning the pan-ecumenism, whatever. What do you want? Is this all these tutti fratelli tutti, and all this sorry to say, this nonsense, religious nonsense, brought them, in fact, before to make the decision, because they couldn't see themselves anymore working. This is the first reason. For some, well, each one has another approach, but this is always one very important point which brought them to us. The other very important point is what happened with the COVID, when these priests were just closed up, and all the possibilities, that the Polish bishops behaved very, very, very bad. For Polish people, it is absolutely not possible to act like that. For the first time in the history of Poland, the people had no Lent and no Easter ceremonies, which is an absolute impossibility. There was no time in the history of Poland, the worst communist occupations, the epidemics, whatever you had, all the trials Poland had with all the attacks. The churches were never closed. The liturgy was always celebrated. And now, when the primat of Poland, so the boss of the conference, would say, he who goes to church on Holy Friday, he commits a sin against the fifth commandment. He brings in danger the health of the people. When anyway you can only put 5 people in the church, this made a lot of priests upset, and they were obliged to follow. And then in this moment, this gave to many of the priests who were sitting in that mess, saying, "No, what I'm doing here, we have an epidemic and we have to save souls, and they close at the church and we cannot visit them anymore. That's nonsense." And when they would like to start to argue, they would be severely punished. And then comes the next thing, which is about in January, February this year, which brought also another punch into us, is the obligation, or not obligation, to give the communion in the hands. This has never been done in Poland. Polish country has been preserved from communion in the hands. Look. About 1.5 years ago, 95% of Polish Catholics would receive communion in the mouth. 5%
So even in the new mass, new mass parishes,
they wouldn't accept it. They didn't want it, and it was just the COVID who changed the whole thing. They just accepted it, and that was a disaster for them. Impossible to do such things. And so one of the priests, Father Cyprian, is a Franciscan, and Father Cyprian, he would make a sermon against the communion in the hands. He was summoned by his superior. So first of all, you will excuse yourself for the stupidities you have said for all the people, and made such a scandal to speak about the beautiful communion in the hands. And secondly, you will communion in the hands. If not, you will be punished. You will be suspended. Wow. Father said, "Thank you very much. Now I know where I have to go." The day afterwards, he was with us, That's it. So these are the main reasons which brought these priests in.
So I want to emphasize what you said earlier and make sure we heard you correctly, that the COVID restrictions were more strict, were closed more than under communism. That's what I heard you correctly?
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
All the people say is in communist times, no church was closed in Poland. Absolutely no. The offices were there were restrictions.
Wow.
The government tried to do everything to prevent the people, but it didn't succeed at all. So the government in Poland, the Polish communists was like that. The better we keep silence, if not, we may, because if you say to a Polish man, you are not allowed to do that, he will do it twice, Yes. And so it's just normal. So these people wouldn't, and this also brought to us generally, so many people would come, to us.
Well,
and
yes,
ask
it
for
sounds
help.
like that. You said you were opening a school with 280 students. So in addition to priests, you must have more faithful coming to your parishes, your churches.
I think we have the last 1.5 years, we have tripled the number of faithful.
Wow.
This means that, when I came to, in the very beginning, just give the example of Warsaw. When I came to Poland, it was the reign of John Paul II. John Paul
Yes.
the Great, and only if
Yes.
somebody says they have an
Yes.
issue with John Paul II, you have nothing to say anymore. No argument. Finished.
Right.
So the first years, until, let me say, 2005 and his death, we were happy to have in Warsaw, in the priory. We built little by little. At 2005, I think we made a first counting of the SSPX, and I was happy, that I was proud like a peacock when I said, we have 102 faithful in 2005.
Wow.
So, and we were all happy about this. This was extraordinary in Warsaw Priory. Now, then came the motu proprio, summorum pontificium. Then came the cancellation of the excommunications, and that brought a lot of people in. So in 2012, we would have in Warsaw Priory already about 250, 300 faithful. In 2014, there were 350. When I came back in 2018, there were about 450. And then 2019, it goes up very quickly. And with these COVID things, and now we have 1,400. We
Wow.
celebrate 6 holy masses, and we are obliged to celebrate 7. We divided them. We have a beautiful chapel in the school. The school is just some miles from the priory, and there is a school chapel which gets also easily 250 people in. So on the Sunday, we use that as like a parish, a little parish, an extension of the priory. So we will be able to celebrate until 7-8 masses, which is now necessary in order to cover the people. If not, we cannot do it anymore. And
Wow.
all the chapel, I just been in Christmas in a chapel. I say to these people on Christmas, look, I was here with you 5 years ago, 7 years ago. We were 30. I gave 370 communions in this chapel, in 3 masses. And the chapel would contain 70 or 80 seats to sit.
Wow. Well,
In
that's more
midnight,
than triple. That's 10 times the amount of
yeah.
people to go from
Now,
30 to 300.
well,
Wow.
that was 7 years ago, but
Yes, but
that is,
yes. Yes.
they counted the people. A
Yes.
chapel, we have 80 places to sit. They counted 180 people in the midnight mass.
Wow. Wow.
I was there, I didn't know where to put myself. The
Yes.
people who could hardly approach for the communion rail. Everything was so
Wow.
packed. And they say, Father, that's normal every Sunday. It's like that. Wow. So
Well,
this is a big thing,
it's interesting hearing you, because I was recently at the Angelus Press Conference, which is the U.S. District's annual
Yeah.
conference, a few weeks ago. And I remembered 10 years ago going to the first, or 11 years ago, going to the first conference when Bishop Fillet spoke. And someone asked him a question and said, if you could have anything in the world right now, what would you want? And he thought for a moment and he said, a time is coming in the church when we are going to be inundated with people. And if I could have anything, I'd have 50 more priests right now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he said that again 11 years ago. And I think many ways he was prophetically speaking about our time. Our time,
Absolutely.
we've been so inundated with faithful that,
Yeah.
and here you say God has provided you with these priests right at the time when you need them.
Exactly.
Yes.
And exactly what I just
Yes.
want to emphasize. Thanks
Yes.
to these priests,
Yes.
and I, with the General Superior's agreement, I told to him, look, I cannot shut this priest down into a house and let them just study 2 years. It's not
Yes.
possible. These people are missionaries.
Yes.
They have worked.
Yes.
They have suffered for the souls the last years. They all have learned on themselves the Catholic
Yes.
tradition and tried what they can of course, in the movement of the Ecclesia, of the Indals, and so motu proprio, and so on. And now we cannot just set them. So I made a program to integrate them in the apostolate, and I'm very surprised that it goes very quickly. That normally this program was about making to integrate them into the apostolate. First, make them confession, traditional sermons, and so on. Well, what normally in 6 months I am managing with some of them to do it in 2 weeks. Very, very, very so fervent, and thanks to that, I found myself as the chapel opener. When we have sometimes the bottle opener, I've become a chapel opener. Look, This year in 2021, I wouldn't believe neither if it would be regularly. I blessed exactly 12 new chapels. 12
Wow. In 1 year. Wow.
in 1 year. This
Yes.
is
Wow.
wonderful. Three,
Yes.
three in Slovakia, where we just began our apostolate, which is also joined to Poland, and 9 here in Poland. Well,
Wow.
3 of them they were switching from a smaller place to a new place. All these
Mm.
rented places, we have now not
Yes.
so much as on our own, and all this is provisory because it's a very difficult time. Anyway, it is wonderful because why? Because all these people are coming. They write. They come a delegation, 10 people. Father, please help us. Now, after the 16th of July, many of these traditional masses were cancelled, and the people
Mm.
would be without mass. And they come. They ask, please, Father, don't leave us alone. Please help us. So I have
Wow.
such a good heart. I can never say no. So we opened altogether now this altogether 6 new chapels and 6 new missions where we go
Wow.
irregularly. So on the
Wow.
map of Poland, 1.5 years ago, there were 15. Now we have 33, 32.
Wow.
Of the places we visit more or less regularly. So this is also, so then the number of the faithful, each of these places covers at least 80, 90, 100 people,
Wow.
where we begin.
Now, in the beginning, you said you attribute all of this to the Immaculata,
Yeah.
to our Blessed Mother. Why do you say that? Why do you think this has been the work of the Blessed Mother the last 4 or 5 years?
You know, you have this phenomena that you have these priests coming in. This is not habitual in the world.
Mm.
Why? Just these priests are now coming in asking us. First of all, I ask them, what brings you up to us? Which makes you to make such a sacrifice, to lose everything? Because in Poland, those who are coming to us, until now, the bishops and the superiors, they will just smash in. They will be
Mm.
considered. Father Wojciech, he has received so much bad words from his superiors. It's
Mm.
hard. It's very hard, and the best friends you lose. The
Mm.
machinery of the structure of the church is perfectly corrupt in all things
Mm.
what faith is concerned, but is perfectly working if you would like to open again inquisition for the modernism. They are perfectly working. You can even
Mm.
imagine how strictly they apply. You get an admonition as if you would be in the times of St. Pius X, just only not before if you have been accused of heresy, because you are accused of Catholic tradition. That's the way. Anyway, these priests, I asked them, what made you discover the tradition? After a minute, it's Our Lady. It's Our Lady who saved them. Our Lady who brought them back somehow to read the book. They were despair. They started to say the Rosary. Everyone, not one single exception. And I didn't insinuate. I just asked, and they always come back. It's Our Lady who brought us gave me this grace. So this is also their subjective approach to the SSPX. The second
Wow.
thing is when they had to decide where to go, or they were afraid. Many of these priests, they say me, the most obstacle for many priests at this moment to come to ask me is fear. It's just fear.
Mm.
Fear of before the unknown, fear of losing everything, fear, and again a fear. And sometimes not even a rational fear anymore. This is a devilish temptation.
Mm.
And then these priests would say, when they were just afraid and they wouldn't know, and this was too hard. It's Our Lady again, of good counsel, mostly, who gave them the good counsel and the strength, the virgo potens.
Mm.
Again, these priests come to us. They start to have, of course, difficulties, trials, when they get their admonitions, then we're suspended at divinis, when they get harsh letters from their old friends, when the old best friends make sermons against them. This is a betrayer,
Mm.
this is a
Yes.
bandit, this is a poor man.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
hard for them. They lose the best friends, and then the consolation is again Our Lady. So you see already there, these priests, I just make sessions of formation, theological sessions. I tell you, I made one theological session now, right some weeks ago, and explained in the Mariology of the SSPX how we understand that the Marian spirituality of Archbishop Lefebvre. You cannot imagine. Some priests came to me. It's just a new life which began for me. Another priest said, Our Lady took me in her hands. Now I understand. This is experience I made with him. I'm myself astonished how much she's really the mother of these priests who really come and make this effort. Without her, not even one would be able to make the step and to stay also. Then the other way is, let us see another background, which is very interesting. Poland has remained very conservative concerning the whole thing. In comparison with other countries of the world, very conservative. You have modernist people in the countryside saying the rosary every day, May devotions, October devotions, processions, pilgrimages to Our Lady's 99 shrines, please, 99 they have all over Poland. It's interesting, and the people would go and pray. Of course, it's getting modernist. Of course, it's getting the people are losing more and more. But there is, let me say, something at the bottom. There is a foundation, a spiritual foundation from which these young priests or these priests live yet. So even if these priests would have a modernist teaching or training, depends when they entered the seminary the last years, even in some of the modernist seminaries, especially in the south of Poland, these priests would say they have a very modernist theology, but they had also all the Marian devotions with all the processions, with all the love of Our Lady as former times, And then also they have their family background. And they come to the family. There is no priest who have become priest without a deep Marian devotion. And this Marian devotion, Poland is very much linked to Our Lady. Polish people love their history, especially those who are conservative.
Yes.
And these people, they would say, we look into our history. Catholic Poland starts with Our Lady, exists with Our Lady, is preserved with Our Lady. And they can give you the examples, step by step, when Poland was invaded, when it was accused. It went so far that St. Pius X called Poland the bastion of the Catholic faith from all the invasions from north and east, And this is just a fact. And these people live that. And so, in fact, a deep spirit of faith, let me say the sensus catholicus, the Catholic sense has been kept thanks to this traditional devotion to Our Lady much longer than in other countries. A good example is this question of the communion in the hands. This is 40 years later than when it began, that they finally, or 50 years later, when 50 years later, when they accepted it finally. This seems, and this makes it that at this moment, I think the priests who came to us know other priests. If I count them together, there will be about 40, 50 priests. They know personally, or I know them already, some of them. These priests, they think about joining us, This is not, probably they will not join us, most of them not, but this is an idea, if these priests, this means that these priests have a little bit the same spiritual background, which is in absolute contradiction with that what the Pope says and what's going on in the church. See? And this is also a very, very, is only due to Our Lady again, from the whole Marian history, And then, and all these people, these countries are much blessed by Our Lady. Look, the one of the greatest Marian movements in the history of all times, the Militia Immaculata, is founded by Maximilian Kolbe. You have nothing like that in the whole world in the 20th century, to have the city of the Immaculata with almost 1,000 brothers, gathered within 15 years. These are miracles, And that's happening all the time, That is why it's not just let me say, a sentimental or a superficial saying, Our Lady. Everybody can say that, but it's really founded in history and theology.
So you mentioned that can our viewers in English-speaking countries, America, Canada, England, can they join your Militia Immaculata? Can they become knights, or is that just for people in Poland?
We are in 62 countries in the world.
Ah, yes.
So, and we have about 5,000 knights in the US.
Ah,
So
and so how would
the
they go about joining in the US? What could they do?
the joining in US is very simple. They go to
Yes.
there is of course there is in each country or in each district you have a moderator. The
Hmm.
moderator of the Militia Immaculata in United States is Father Dennis MacDonald, who is a prior in St. Louis.
Hmm.
And then you have wherever the Militia Immaculata is established, and it's established in many priories and chapels, and there is a priest who is responsible, and so they develop this idea of the MI, and so they are, some of them are direct contact with me. I happen to be just for after a long period of silence because of the COVID restrictions. I have been in November in the United States and visited in 11 days 9 places,
Mm.
and everywhere, including St. Mary's. In St. Mary's itself, there are more than 1,000 knights. So,
Wow.
so the Militia Immaculata is quite known in many places. In other, maybe not. And now, when I have been there, I got already the invitation to come again. And I hope to come again in 2022. And I've already the permission from the General Superior to make another trip to visit places which I couldn't meet. For instance, there are a lot of knights, people who want. It depends, of course, of the priests. There are several priests who are
Mm.
really engaged. Like John Carlyle, who is professor in the seminary,
Yes.
who has invited me into a new chapel. They call it the COVID Chapel of Front Royal. I didn't know where that
Yes.
is, and then I happened to be myself on a Monday evening before more 120 people, in a hall because the chapel was too small, and then the father enrolled a lot of people. The same is the father of what is this in Kansas City, father, the principal of the school. He enrolled almost the whole school
Oh,
now, because I prepared them, and everybody want
mm.
to enroll, because it is the MI is a very important thing in my eyes for the
Yes.
present world. It
And
is,
if you, I was just going to say, if you do want more information, I'm showing on the screen now. Here is the page, the web page for the Militia
yeah,
Immaculata in the U.S.
exactly,
district,
yeah,
and there's all information, membership, enrolling, and
exactly,
indulgences.
yeah,
So our viewers, I'll put a
perfect,
link to that if our
perfect,
viewers want to take a look at that afterwards. That's wonderful to hear.
yeah.
I know Father Carlisle is very. I know him at the seminary. He's very enthusiastic about
Yeah,
it.
and
Yes.
I just wanted to add that we have also websites in English language, and we have a library where we have all
Oh,
the MI publications available. And this is a lot of publications, and you will see all countries we cover, all the languages we cover. We published in about 16, 17 different languages, the MI stuff, including Chinese, Japanese, and so on. And in India and in these places, and lastly in Nigeria, all the faithful we could enroll, especially in these COVID times. They find they're a big consolation. Our Lady needs
mm,
them. That is the idea. She wants to have instruments in her immaculate hands
yes.
in order to pass the graces into the souls. And then you make a prayer, sacrifices. This is the whole idea of Fatima, which is integrated in the MI apostolate. Pray sacrifices for the salvation of souls, of the poor sinners. And then, of course, the great idea of the miraculous matter and all what is concerned,
Yes.
the conversions and so on. And we have a trimester that every 3 months we give out the Night of the Immaculata. It is a bulletin in English language. And then you have the sparks of the MI in the world, and you can just be amazed what Our Lady is doing in the Catholic tradition amongst our faithful, miracles
Mm.
of conversions I'm just amazed. So I think what happens just before our eyes. Good.
So, in addition to looking into joining the MI, what advice would you have for lay Catholics to help priests like who might be thinking about tradition, who might be thinking about these issues, what can the laity do to help and encourage priests to come back to tradition?
Of course, it is different in each country in the world, and it
Yes.
depends also the priest, what is the interest of the priest. The
Yes.
beginning of such a thing is like the MI, for instance, now in Switzerland.
Mm,
They're responsible of a rosary crusade. They
mm,
start rosary, saying rosary everywhere. They have already many places, and it goes very quickly. So they have already many thousand people who now every Wednesday evening gather in the place, public place, to say the rosary. And
mm,
so even the priests are getting involved, the
mm.
parish priests. And this is the first approach. Oh, this is a great thing. I want to pray. And this makes the possibility of this parish priest, because it's not directly linked with SSPX, this thing.
Yes.
It's just,
Yes.
and they get the flyers, they get the rosaries for free, medals, and the people
Mm,
come and they get it. And the priest himself, through Our Lady, through this apostolate of Our Lady, he gets in contact with tradition. This is
mm.
also the experience we have in Central America, where my friend Father Boniface is working very hard with the MI stuff, and where the bishop, for instance, he has some bishop contacts with bishops, and these bishops knew about the tradition thanks to the Fatima Congress. I
Oh,
participated twice, in
yes.
in
Yes.
in in Niagara Falls or Rome, and thanks to that, these bishops got into contact with the Fatima message, and through the Fatima message to our tradition, to the tradition.
Mm,
So the idea, Our Lady says, Our Lady in Fatima, Jesus wants to use you to make me known and loved, and Our Lady brings the people to tradition. This is a very
mm,
interesting thing. This is for priests who are far away. But for
mm,
those, this is another situation, who are already conservative, who are
mm,
concerned with the situation of the church. Here you can also go a step further. Now, these priests need literature. They need to read. They need to
mm,
know literature, or really information, because that we see all over the world. These people, you do not know anything. Lastly, I had a contact with Bishop Schneider, who visited Lebanon, and he said in the Lebanon, these people, if they only would know. And so I say to him, Bishop, the Bishop Schneider, he asked the general house, and it was now the assistant was there, and seems to go well. And they said, these people need to read to know what's going on, and to read about
mm,
Catholic tradition, because they have no formation. They are just sentimental, modernist. It's a mixture of everything, charismatic. And so you must just bring him sound ideas in your ears, in your head. And here is a very interesting thing we have to say with my 12 fellow priests, with my 12 apostles I have now. I say them, what they say to me, many of them, when one of them was missionary in Sudan, the Franciscan, Father Bonaventura. And then he realized everything is going wrong. This was already in
mm,
2018, 19 when he was there. And then he said, I am such confused. And so he said, well, I must do something. So I know that St. Thomas Aquinas is sure. And I start to read the Summa. He started to read the Summa Theologica, and the Summa Theologica opened his eyes. He said, oh, this is logic. This is absolutely sure. This is perfect. This is exactly the answer to that question. This is that is the solution of that objection. He reads that. They discover the Summa Theologica in a complete different way of us. We should be the
mm,
specialists of the whole stuff, and they discover it like it's if you're full of poison, the
mm.
Summa Theologica takes out the
Yes.
poison of that. They
Oh,
start to think again logically.
oh,
This is an experience. I was just shocked when I heard that. This is a way I
yes.
understand. Of course, you must have a level. The priest must be eager to read and to study. If they don't want that, said, I have no time. And so you have a loss. It's a lot. You cannot do anything, in my eyes.
Mm,
And then, of course, this is the thing. And then the next thing we show to these priests when they come. They are priests who come from the Novus Ordo. And then they attend, for instance, a beautiful solemn high mass, or they look at it, with a little bit understanding of that already before, then they will be amazed. Well, that's great. That's something sublime. That is something holy. And this is the first, let me say, superficial, but the first approach in order to make them happy with this idea. I would like to attend. I would like to celebrate with me. And this is already a step very much further. So this is the ways
Wow.
we can help them. And of course, most important thing is prayer, and give to this priest the rosary in their hand and pray and pray and pray and go on and pray.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Father, for sharing such wonderful stories of hope. And this Christmas week, it's really good to hear stories of hope. There's so much bad that's happening in our world this
Oh
past
yes.
year,
Oh
but
yes.
it's good
Oh
to see
yes.
how Our Lady brings so much good out
Absolutely.
of it.
I
Yes.
just wanted to
Yes.
just a little addition, if you allow me,
Yes,
to
please.
speak
Yes.
from something else from Poland. All these other
Yes.
countries, besides Poland, is very hard to work because in these countries, these were former Soviet unions, Soviet countries. I don't speak about Ukraine is special, but these Baltic countries, Belarus, Russia, very difficult apostolate. We have chapels in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, and we have a chapel in Tallinn, and Tallinn is an entirely Protestant country. And in this country, imagine, we built the first Catholic church now of the Immaculate Conception, Immaculate Heart of Mary, first Catholic church built, I think, since the Reformation. And this is something, a challenge. We got the permission from the people. And this is now, at this moment, we have this idea. And since ever we consecrated our little group, so we have already almost more Catholics in our little group than the bishop in this cathedral. So just that you know. And
Wow.
because there is only 150 Catholics in the town of Tallinn, and we cover already almost more. So I think this would be a very good idea to pray for this poor country, completely Protestant, but the people convert. Almost all people we have there are converts, because we have
Wow.
even contact with Protestant pastors who wanted to convert or are very
Wow.
Catholic minded, but they need many prayers. It's so difficult, but they sent their own people. We have pastor, Mr. N. Augsman, and this pastor, imagine, he sent his daughter to one of our schools to see. The daughter converted, and now she's Dominican sister at
Wow.
traditional. So you
Wow.
imagine. So
Yes.
look. This is a little miracle. We pass also Our Lady, and the old name of Estonia is Maria Ma, the country of Mary. So it's again Our Lady. That's
Oh,
just the
wonderful.
last anecdote to speak about.
Yes, well, if
Good.
our viewers can keep those in their prayers and pray for these
That's good.
countries that have
Yeah.
suffered so much, it's wonderful to see. And
Perfect.
it was wonderful to see you again. We met many
Thank
years ago,
you.
as you mentioned, at a
Nice to meet
Fatima
Karl.
Center
And
conference. And it's nice to see you. And I actually was thinking of you this summer because my oldest son was ordained deacon by Bishop Fillet at the seminary
oh,
in the spring,
yes.
and his first sermon over the summer as a deacon was on the Assumption, and he preached
Oh,
on Maximilian Kolbe as
oh,
his theme,
wonderful.
and it made me think of you. I thought you would have been very
Say
happy with
hello to him.
that.
I will be
I
happy.
will.
I'm very happy
Yes.
to make his acquaintance. So,
Yes. Well, if you
and I
get to
hope
the seminary, perhaps you'll see
that's
him
good.
in the next few
Yes,
months. But
if
thank you,
God's will.
Father.
I wish you all the
Thank you,
best,
Father.
and to all those,
Yes.
all of you, many blessings of God for a holy new year. God bless you.
Thank you, Father.
Thanks so
Well,
much.
thank you, viewers, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening to us. If you've enjoyed this free program, please help us by sharing this message. Please share the video with your contacts and friends and acquaintances, because you can help us get this video out. We don't have a large budget, so we can't pay to have these videos distributed the way a lot of other big places do. So we rely on your support to help us. And as always, if you enjoy our free content, please consider subscribing to Catholic Family News newspaper. The January issue will be out in about a week, which has some really important articles. So you can help support our free apostolate by subscribing to the newspaper. So thank you all. We'll be back with our news roundup after the first of the year. And we thank you, Father. We thank you. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you.